Good afternoon. We'll ask everyone to please remain standing, face the flag in the back for the national anthem. Please be seated. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the 160th commencement exercise of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. The ceremony today includes our students both from campus and online. So we welcome you all, and we anticipate a day filled with joy and a day where change may be the theme. Graduates, I want to begin by offering a very simple message. As a young man, maybe many of you, your parents would have reminded you that the importance of manners. And I'm sure that if your mom and dad were like mine, they always said, please and thank you goes a long way. And so what I'd like to do is start by saying thank you, graduates, for choosing the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science for your funeral service education. There are many options today, and the funeral service is a profession that is immersed in change. But you took on a year or 2 years, whatever program you're in, you persevered, you had the fortitude, and here you sit today. So enjoy. I would be remiss in extending thank yous if I did not recognize your support systems, your parents, your significant others, your family, your friends at large. What I'd like to ask all of you to do who supported our graduates, please stand and be recognized. Please stand. You can't do it without them. Today's graduation ceremony coincides with our 80th birthday here at Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. Back in September, we celebrated at the school, but technically today is really the graduation that coincides with 80 years and our 80-year legacy. And it's a great honor for me today to be at our 80th birthday party, if you will, as the presiding officer. But I would also be remiss if I did not say that our president, Mr. Eugene Ogrodnik, offers his best wishes to all of you and only wants the best for you. It's kind of fitting that today I am assuming the mantle of the presiding officer for Mr. Ogrodnik because it represents a change. And I said that was going to be a buzzword today. And change today, as its theme, will be seen in different ways, felt in different ways, and talked about in different ways. The most obvious change for those of you who might have been in part of our last graduation is that the graduates look different. We chose a different gown, cap and gown, and a different color scheme. Kind of befitting with years ago when I got into funeral service, and maybe some of us that are over 30, right? Remember when you got into funeral service, the hearses were black. I used to wash cars at a funeral home at 17 years old, and I never saw a gray or silver car. But today we have gray and white, and who knows what colors are coming for our cars and automotive equipment. But change isn't just a visual here at Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. The flagship really is undergoing, change throughout the organization. You know, when you think of a flagship, it's a naval reference, well, every ship needs an admiral. And the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science is proud to announce to all of you that our new admiral, Chairman Jim Pinkerton, sitting right here. I'd also like to recognize that Karen West from our board is also here today, so we thank them for their support and coming. By my presence as the presiding officer, you may have figured that the administration has changed a bit. And this new administrative team includes Acting Dean Michael Burns, Registrar Mrs. Karen Lorto, and Staff Supervisor and Administrator Nicole Lachko. The crew of the flagship has changed a little bit. Mr. Nick Ritchie has joined us as a full-time faculty member. Why did you get all that? What did he do to deserve all that? He's only been here one term. From an operational standpoint, the flagship is steering in some different pathways that I'll just take a minute to share with you. As some of you know, the restorative art experience is a brand new world. For those of you who have graduated from PIMS, you used to use those white skulls and build Lady Gaga or Madonna or whoever they used to build. Couldn't keep up with it. We did see a lot of Lady Gagas though, didn't we, Mr. Burns? There's a lot of Lady Gagas for some reason. And I couldn't think of the next time we're going to restore Lady Gaga's face. Maybe a plastic surgeon will in a couple of years, but I don't think any of us will be doing that anytime soon. So, with the imprimatur of the board, we made some changes and overhauled the lab, soliciting a special effects artist to bring in actual traumatic and pathologically damaged heads that the kids work on. It's very consistent with what's done in the field. The industry is buzzing about it, and I think Mr. Matt Black wants to talk to Mr. Burns and I about where this thing can go. And we will have lunch. Moreover, the flagship itself, the building, is ready for some changes. And I am very proud to announce that per the directive of the Board of Directors, this morning we dedicated a new education center that is in a currently unused portion of the building that will specialize in cremation, alternative disposition, life events, and who knows what's the future. But with Mr. Pinkerton's blessing and the board's authority, we will go forth, and we hope construction will begin 2020. So it's really something that it's something that we've gone through a restorative art experience now with our online students, and I think Mr. Burns and Mr. Ritchie, Mr. Drobish, Ms. Cerruti could testify that this is something that was stellar. It was well received, and we're proud to share it with the industry, with our PIMS family, and more to come. Another slight change at PIMS is, we looked at some of our branding, our messaging, how we were reaching the funeral service industry and our stakeholders at large. And we said, we got to do something different. And again, with the directive of our chairman and the board, we are now the bridge to your future in funeral service education, coming to a YouTube channel in the next month. You might see some technology around here that you haven't seen at past graduations. We plan on putting out a series of high production videos that tell the wonderful story that is the Pittsburgh Institute. You've lived it, but who else knows it? So we're going to make sure that anybody that has a phone and a YouTube connection will be able to watch and see the future, see the bridge to their future. Funeral service isn't for everybody, but it could be for somebody that's sitting in Kansas right now that works 2 jobs and is thinking about going to an online school. YouTube's Mortuary Science and sees today. Begin with the end in mind. That's why this will be the first video that goes up, because it shows what can be done. And that is something I can't wait to see. So, while we know that change sometimes comes with growing pains, and it isn't easy. In fact, the late psychologist Abraham Maslow, you know him from Mr. Alachko's class, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, Mr. Alachko? Something, yeah, you teach that. You've heard that guy before. But he said about change, in any given moment we have 2 options: to step forward or step back into safety. We choose step forward. And today, if you will, on our 80th birthday, we're coming out to show the world we are stepping forward. In my concluding remarks today, because change is the theme, I want to tell you just a little story. I promise it'll be brief. Good thing this is the January graduation, because it's September. Boy, it sure is hot, and we're on the 5-minute rule, okay? But I want to tell you a story. And it goes with change, it goes with family, it goes with who we are. A few months ago, a gentleman, one of the dads of our graduates, and a graduate himself, approached Dr. Joe Marcella and asked if he could be the speaker at our graduation. And unfortunately, we had already known that with Dr. Joe's pending retirement, it would not be possible. There's an academic tradition that as a faculty member or administrator retires, they're your next keynote, so you got stuck with Dr. Joe. Should have told him to hold off his retirement if you didn't want him, right? But I got a feeling it'll be wildly entertaining today. It's Dr. Joe, right? I'm raising the bar for you. But anyway, I thought to myself, well, heck, this is our 80th birthday. We could do something different. So as I conclude the presiding officer's remarks, let me take a moment to bring up this gentleman who asked to speak to you, not just to his son, but to all of you, and impart some words of wisdom. Mr. Shelby Ferguson, would you please come to the dais? Remember the 5-minute rule.
I think he told me 20 minutes on the phone. Thank you, Dr. Lease. I appreciate having a few minutes to talk to the graduates today. It's an honor to be up here. 18 years ago, almost to the day, I had the honor to speak to the graduates once before, and I was the president of the Pennsylvania Funeral Directors Association at the time. And it was quite humbling to be up here. I spoke a little bit about morals and integrity. Those are important qualities that I hope all of you will have. I'll not take much of your time today, and to my son Adam in the graduating class, I promise I won't embarrass you. As a proud father, this is a big day for me. My son's graduating, and 4 years ago, I was out in the audience when my daughter Carly graduated as well. So tomorrow I'll have 2 third-generation funeral directors within my firm, and retirement probably is not very far off. That's a surprise to my wife. To all of the students, I believe you've received a quality education, probably the best that's available in the country from the Pittsburgh Institute. You have learned a broad basis for your continuing education through your life. Some of the things you have learned you'll use time and time again throughout your career. I trust that you'll receive the necessary field experience in your internships. And some of the things that you've learned you'll probably never use again. You know, we all went through those chemistry classes and learned all those formulas. And embalming with my son over the past year, he mentioned a couple of these chemicals. And, you know, I really haven't heard those for 35 years. But I'm not sure if we're going to use those things again. I have some words of encouragement for this graduating class, though. I've been licensed since 1984. It's been a very fulfilling career for me. There will be times ahead when you question your career path. There will be times ahead when you may question God for why a young child was taken from a young couple. There will be times ahead when you will only have one call in the past 3 weeks, and you'll worry what's going to happen tomorrow. And there will be times ahead that your family and friends will make life your chosen profession. All of these things will make you a better professional. You will develop a life bond with that young couple because you serve them. A little humor in this career is sometimes helpful to get you through a stressful day. Although humor in this industry has a certain time and certainly a limited audience. As many bad times as you endure, you will find great satisfaction in this industry. In your program today, Dr. Joe has the keynote address entitled Caution Changes Ahead. I didn't talk to Joe and ask him what he was talking about. Change is so constant in every industry. But I could probably list 20 things that have changed since I've been in this business. Things from the Federal Trade Commission to cell phones. I started out with a beeper that was about this long and rectangular, and there was no screen on it, so when the beeper rang, you had to call the funeral home and see what was up. Federal Trade Commission, AIDS, opioids, and rather interesting, a week ago I saw an advertisement for a bucket list adventure promoted by the National Funeral Directors Association. Things are changing. They never had that 20 years ago. And the bucket list was an adventure through wine country. And of course my daughter, you might have a glass of wine every once in a while, she said, "Dad, can I go on this?" And I said, "Sure, go ahead." I think she's still working on that. But what a chance to talk with other professionals and perhaps learn something and maybe have a glass of wine along the way. One of the biggest changes in this industry, though, you'll all agree, the funeral directors will agree, is cremation. The average funeral home in Pennsylvania does about 80 funerals a year. And in the 80s, when we had a cremation at my funeral home, we didn't even count it as a call. It was an insignificant occurrence. It was probably 1% of our business, so we didn't even count it. Today, it's certainly nearing 50%. The best of the funeral accountants throughout the country, one of the biggest is Federated Funeral Directors. They tell all of us that we didn't get enough for our cremations then, and we're still not getting enough for our cremations today. I'd like to touch briefly on another change that I can see coming, and I would call this a generational change. Funeral directors, your generation, expects to have a clearly defined work week. I think that's a fair expectation. However, it depends upon what size funeral home you work for. If you work for a large volume firm, that may work for you. If you work for a small funeral home, I don't think it's going to work. People die every day of the week. I don't think there's a funeral director in this room that hasn't had Christmas or Thanksgiving interrupted by a death call. Our friends and neighbors who call on us expect and deserve our attention no matter the day of the week or the time of day. I talked to a friend of mine about 2 weeks ago, Jim Pinkerton, the president of the board, and I said, "Jim," "did you get a day off when you were growing up?" And he said, "Yes, I did." He said, "I got every third Friday off." He said, "But if we were busy, guess what? I didn't get it off." So, if you do not take care of your families, your competitor will. We are in a face-to-face, hands-on business with families. They appreciate what we do, and they thank you forever. There are very few fields where a bunch of money changes hands, and the person that pays the money thanks the person that receives the money. And think about that for a minute. If you haven't purchased, graduates, think about that. If you haven't purchased a car yet, at some point in your life you will purchase a car. And you go into the showroom, you sign the papers, you give them some cash, you sign the loan papers, and you walk out the door, get your new car, and drive off the lot. But I would bet that salesman did not have an impact on your life. Funeral directors have that impact on your life. Countless times, I and most funeral directors have received a hug from a mother or a widow when they come and pay the bill, and they sincerely thank us for what we do. That is one of the most gratifying feelings that you can ever have. If you do your job to the best of your ability, you'll be on the receiving end of those hugs, and that feeling will make all of your studies worthwhile. All of you have the knowledge to move your career forward. What you need now is that field experience from your internships. There are many job opportunities out there. Perhaps there's none in your hometown. Perhaps there's none even near your home. But my sincere hope is that you will find a perfect fit. PIMS is embarking upon a new era. Your school is going to be there for you as you move forward throughout your career. Their new credo, King's Cares, offers ongoing support throughout your career. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I wish that you would challenge Kings. Ask them for help, and I will be there for you, or I hope they will be there for you as you move forward. A couple things you should remember in life. Parents are your best friends. If you are fortunate enough to have one or both of your parents still living, I'm sure that they have been supportive of you throughout your educational career. I lost my mother when I was 15 years old. My father was my boss. I won't tell you that we always got along, but at the end of the day, he was the one person that I leaned on throughout my lifetime, both personally and professionally. Many of you are first-generation funeral directors. I'd encourage you to develop a relationship with either your new boss or another funeral director that has been around for a while. Sure, they'll tell you how it was, and that might get old, but you can learn something from everyone, and you never know when that something could make an impact on your career. I am a very pro-association person. I would encourage you to get active in the Funeral Directors Association. Go to meetings. Regardless if there's continuing education or not, you interact with other people, and you will learn something from everyone. Try to take the best that everyone has to offer, and you will be better yet. Another change that you may or may not see coming in your careers, whomever you work for, they may want or require you to do community service. I've been very active in several organizations throughout my lifetime in the community. And I'll admit that I was hoping to bury everybody that I interacted with. Perhaps now it's more like cremate everybody that I interact with. But as a funeral director in a small town, I've had many disappointments when someone passes away and goes to another funeral home. Often I do not understand why, and usually I just suck it up and move on. I enjoy helping people, and I hope you will be active and get some sort of satisfaction as well. In closing, I would like to tell you a little story that happened to me about 20 years ago, and it involves a Catholic priest. Don't worry, it's a safe story. And so this lady comes into the funeral home. Her name is Anne, I won't use her last name. And she's crying. And she said, "Shelby, I lost my dog this morning." Now, 20 years ago, they didn't have pet memorialization like they do today. People didn't spend money on their pets then like they do today. And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" It was about 20 degrees outside, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to hold a shovel in the next half hour and be out in her backyard. But she said, "Shelby, I want to have a mass for the dog." I said, "Anne, I don't think St. Sebastian's is going to have a mass." And she said, "Well, let's at least try." So we sat down and worked out some details. The Catholic Church is just a block from my funeral home, and I thought this needs to be a face-to-face talk. So I walked out and asked to see the priest. He's gone now, God bless him, wonderful priest. He can serve some time here in Pittsburgh, Father Edward Dearden. And I said, "Father, I have a lady back at the funeral home. She lost her dog this morning, and she wants to have a mass for her." And he just chuckled, and he said, "Shelby, I can't have a mass for her dog." And I said, "Well, she's willing to give the church $2,000. And he said, "Why don't you tell me your dog is Catholic?" I wish all of you graduates good luck in your future careers. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson, for sharing some insights and narrative with our graduates today. Our keynote speaker needs no introduction because Dr. Joe's HIMSS legacy has been remarkable in almost a little more than 20 years, right, Dr. Joe? Maybe closer to 40? 40-year legacy with the school in various capacities. It's stellar. He's Dr. Joe. What else can we say? And as though back in September, when Dr. Joe, courtesy of Board Chairman Jim Pinkerton, was awarded a special resolution, as though that wasn't enough to say bon voyage. This morning, as the Education Center was dedicated, there was also a place that is going to be a part of the Education Center. It's going to be Dr. Joe's Student Lounge. And it's going to be a place where a man who's put so much of his time, so much of his energy, so much of his blood, sweat, and tears into helping young people become funeral service professionals can just hang out. And those of us who will remember Dr. Joe, maybe 20, 30 years from now or whatever, can look at that sign on the door and think, huh, I knew that guy. So really, without further ado, our Dean Emeritus and just legacy to the Institute, Dr. Joseph Marcel.
This is scary up here. I'm waiting for a oxygen mask to fall down. Before I start, it would be remiss for me not to. Now we got that out of the way. Thank you, Dr. Lees, for the very kind introduction. The introduction, of course, for the proclamation and naming of the new student lounge on the 4th floor in my name. That's very humbling. I do appreciate it. I'm truly honored and humbled to be here, to have our chairman of our board of directors and a board member here is an honor in itself. Not to mention our distinguished members of the faculty, our staff, and of course all of our alumni that are here with us today. I know a lot of you have traveled the miles to be here, and it is greatly appreciated. And more important, to our graduates, for allowing me to share this day with you. This day is all about you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but my privilege is addressing you today. You were the last class I had, both online and campus. And it has been an honor to have been part of your funeral service education. Oh, the memories. Oh, the memories. I could have written a book, probably should have. There have been many OMGs and many miracles performed in that classroom, haven't there? You know, one thing that stands out, a couple things that stands out with this class, you know, because I kind of remember something from every group, as special as you were. But I remember turning in the regulatory compliance final exam, and there was an envelope attached to the exam with a $100 bill on it, with a note saying, $1 for every point. Well, the next day, when I returned the exam, there was an envelope with a little message on it that said, $40 change. I would never embarrass that student, but his initials are Liam Thompson. And then a homework assignment. Very rarely did I do that, but I gave out a homework assignment. And it was Audrey who approached me and said, Dr. Joe, this is going to be hard. I said, don't worry about it, it's a piece of cake. Next day I collected all the assignments and Audrey's wasn't there. I said, Audrey, what happened to your assignment? She says, I ate it. You said it was a piece of cake. Too soon? Too soon. Graduates, your academic achievements are to be acknowledged, and it is exciting to see the next generation of funeral service practitioners enter this profession. As I leave it, it's nice to know that it is in good hands. We recognize your hard work and dedication, and we help you celebrate the fruits of your labor as you start your new journey in your lives. Your extraordinary work has not gone unnoticed. You know, commencement, you probably think the end of something, but this is the beginning of a road of your ceremonial admission to the professional world. Since medieval times, ceremonies like this have been conducted hundreds and hundreds of years. And actually, the robes that we are wearing have gone back 500 years at least, because it was to provide warmth in the cold, damp, hollow halls of academia. Even as Mr. Ferguson had mentioned, you know, you have completed the most comprehensive and respected funeral service education in the United States and the world. Your instructors are the most dedicated and caring that I have seen in my professional career. You know, our reputation as PIMS is known worldwide as one of the finest mortuary schools in the country. And there are many other schools that are envious of us. They look at us with a different degree. I think we could boast our colors and show off a little bit. But you know, actually, recently I heard a student from another mortuary school at a convention. I heard them ask, how many PIM students does it take to change a light bulb? I said, oh, here we go. Well, the answer was one. All they need to do is hold the bulb in place and let the world revolve around them. That's how much they think of us. So, if I didn't know better, I would say again that your staff are the best of the best, including the administrative staff as well. Graduates, the public is deserving of practitioners who are caring, dedicated, and well educated. Consumers expect that you maintain your education through continuing education. So although we recognize your achievements, please know that your education does not end today. It begins. Through your continuing education, you will be able to best serve yourselves, your families, and your community. You know, it was John Dewey who wrote, the goal of education is to enable individuals to continue their education. How have you made an impact on the profession and your community? What change have you made for yourself? Statistics are showing that 80% of our society is resistant to change. And it is not until the age of 30 that most people make a major change for themselves, to their profession, or to a community. As we know, there are two things certain in life, death and change. The older we are, we could probably list hundreds of changes that have taken place. Changes personally in our profession and in our society. You know, as I look back, when I was younger, right, there was a lot of things that we didn't have today. When I was growing up, the only people that had cell numbers were inmates. Talk about change. Over the Christmas holiday recently, my little niece, I was talking, I said, did you write a letter to Santa? She said, Uncle Joe, nobody writes letters, we text today to Santa. I said, okay. I said, well, did your message get to Santa? Did he deliver your presents within the reindeers and sled Christmas Eve? She says, no, Uncle Joe, he uses Uber. Oh, have times changed. You know, it's just amazing. Our population in the United States is about 320 million people. There's about 2.5 million deaths per year. And interestingly, the birth rate is at the lowest it has been in 30 years. So what does that mean for you? Studies, you have studied over the last year or two in some courses, civilizations, ancient civilizations who have cared for the dead over years. Folks, today, you are the new caretakers of the dead. What an exciting time for you, actually. What an exciting time in your lives and in your careers, knowing that you will continue such an honored tradition. You will be replacing the professionals who have served before you, but know that there will be others after you. Interestingly, shortly before his death, Steve Jobs wrote, "Death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will be gradually replaced and cleared away. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." The future of the profession is yours, and it depends on what you do in the present. What will you contribute? Will you be a leader, or will you be a follower? We can either be lost in change, or we can be a part of it. What is the biggest change in the funeral profession today? Actually, it's the consumer. Statistics are showing that 71% of consumers would rather surf the web looking for information about your funeral home than actually speaking to you on the phone or at the funeral home. So with that information in mind, what will you be doing with that? Burials have changed, disposition has changed. Envision, if you will, an 8-story building that looks like an apartment building fitting right in with a community. It holds 20, 50,000 niches and places for interment of caskets. The hallways are decorated with art, there's families, there's waterfalls, there's everything to make things very home-like. You won't find that in the United States, but you will find that in Malaysia. As well, a building that holds 20, 50,000 urns on conveyor belts, if you could imagine. A family walks into a room, they put in a code, the conveyor belt brings out the cremated remains urn, a little Buddha light lights up, and the family can stay in there 15 minutes and grieve and say their goodbyes. That is happening as we speak in Japan. I can assure you that if you have not already known, there will be times in your lives when you look back and wish you have done something or did it better. For example, we only have that one chance to make an impression on our families. Did you go above and beyond their needs, or was it just good enough? There is nothing more challenging than have to tell a family that a casket has to be closed. A lot of you may recall the story I told you about that as well. A young parent does not want to hear that they'll never be able to see their 18-year-old son again who was killed in an accident. Can we at least see his hands? I never would have thought of doing that, but it was something that I would have had to change my thinking, and if it weren't for that mother bringing that to my attention, I would have lived the rest of my life knowing that I had let a family down. My appreciation for restorative art has drastically changed since that time. Never forget that we must change our views in order to be adaptive in meeting the needs and wants of our families. They deserve it. And then the mother whose 4-month-old baby died from SIDS, standing at the casket with a baby that she will never be able to hold her child again. When I took the baby out of the casket and placed it in her arms and sat her down in a chair, that was the change. Something that is not necessarily thought of as traditional. Remember that you cannot do new things unless you do things that you haven't done before. My message to you, or my final words to you, I hope you would promise to do at least 3 things for me, for yourself, in your careers. I would ask that you would change something to make yourself a better person. Change something to make your profession better. And what can you do to change, benefit your community? So let me go over those. Number one, change something to make yourself a better person. A simple act of kindness, being supportive of others, giving to those in need. Write a periodical, write a book, write an article. A better person can better serve their families and their community. The more knowledgeable you are and the more educated you are, you can better serve your families. Get involved in everything and everything you can, and reach that final tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. Where do you want to be? When will you have achieved your ultimate goal? Second, what can you do to change something to better our profession? The more knowledgeable you are about funeral service, again, you become active in funeral associations, attend meetings, programs. You are the future presidents, board members of associations. Graduates, shortly you'll be raising your hand to take the funeral service oath. You will be taking an oath that you will be faithful to all those who have placed their trust in you. And those people are our families and your community. Many of our graduates sitting here today, from our chairman of our board down, have been members, presidents, board members on committees, task force of associations to better our profession. And third, promise us that you will do something to benefit your community, our society. Volunteer. A lot of you are doing things right now to benefit community, society. Recycle, help the poor, help decrease suffering in the world, reach out to a neighbor, mentor children, perform random acts of kindness. Could you imagine if every person did something like this every day? You have a social responsibility to your community. Be philanthropic. When you make others feel good, you feel good too. So I ask, what will you accomplish that you can say you are proud of? What will your legacy be when you retire? Over the years, PIM graduates again have gone on to be coroners, deputy coroners, even mayors of their communities, of their towns. Graduates, the excitement is that this future is yours. I'm looking at it, and I'm happy to say again that it's in good hands. Your lives have value. Take advantage of that. Do it now or forever wish you had. In closing, William Hunter, who was the fourth president of the Church of Latter-day Saints, wrote, "At the end of your lives, you will not be judged by academic successes, the degrees or diplomas earned, the positions held, the material wealth acquired, or power and prestige, but rather you will be judged on the basis of what you have become as persons and what you are in conduct and character. Life is too short. Make every day count and look in the mirror knowing that you made a difference today. The future is yours. What will you contribute?" I believe Mr. Ferguson mentioned that his father he confided in. Every day, just about every day, and even this morning, when you know there's a person, someone you can talk to, confide, and they will listen, and they will hear, and they will guide you, and they will assist you in daily thoughts, you should have one person that you can trust and do that. I was just speaking to that person this morning, and he's in this church with us today. And I usually introduce him, but I probably will right now. But actually, this is one of his many houses. Congratulations. Best wishes. Make change, make the difference. Very proud of you. It was great knowing all of you, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you again. God bless. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Nicholas Ritchie, our faculty member, to the podium for the funeral service oath. Mr. Ritchie.
Thank you, Dr. Leese. Before I give the funeral service oath this morning, I promise, brief words to share. Very brief, I will keep it. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Nick Ritchie. I am a full-time faculty member and instructor here at the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. I will be administering the funeral service oath as the ethics teacher. That is one of my duties at graduation this year. Before I share my words, I do have to preface this with a little explanation. In my time as an instructor here at the school, I like to begin every class with a tradition that the students know about. We start every class with a today in history of a famous person that died on that day in history, followed by a quote of the day from that person. So it just wouldn't be right if we didn't have one last one here today. So today in history, January 17th, 1891, George Bancroft, an American historian and the father of United States history, dies at the age of 90. Being that Mr. Bancroft was known as the father of U.S. history and published the first text on United States history, I don't think he would mind if we forego a quote from him today for the sake of history, particularly the history of our profession of funeral service. This quote of the day is actually a historical account from the Bible. So our quote of the day. There is a man named Joseph from the Jewish town of Arimathea. He was a member of the council, a good and righteous man. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then he took it down and wrapped it in a linen shroud and laid him in a tomb cut in stone, where no one had ever yet been laid. One of the recurring themes that we've had today is change. There is one thing, though, in our profession that has not changed. Nearly 2,000 years ago, this man, Joseph, set a precedent for the profession of funeral service. I reference this quote additionally for the events that occurred just prior. Jesus, the man that Joseph buried, was arrested for his beliefs and teachings. He was then tortured, beaten, spat upon, stripped of his garments, and sentenced to death. His final hours were painful, humiliating, and gruesome. Despite all of this, though, Joseph cared for him in the vulnerability of death. That is what we are called to do as we enter the funeral service profession, to care for each and every decedent and their family with the utmost dignity, regardless of popularity, cleanliness, fame, method of disposition, or wealth. In conclusion, as you take this oath, I challenge all of you to continue the work that Joseph modeled for our profession through the following. Where there is hatred, show love to others. Where there is doubt, show faith and perseverance. Where there is despair, which will be often, help families see that there is still hope. For when we give of ourselves in another person's hour of need, this is when we truly will receive the reward and satisfaction of our labors. So, without further delay, would our graduates please stand to take the funeral service oath? Graduates, please just repeat line by line after me as I administer the oath. I do solemnly swear by which I hold most sacred that I shall be loyal to the funeral service profession and just and generous to its members. That I shall lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor. That into whatever house I shall enter, it shall be for the benefit and comfort of those bereaved. that I shall not let the constant relationship and familiarity with death give me cause to yield to carelessness, or to violate any obligation to society or to the dignity of my profession. That I shall abstain from every voluntary act of misconduct and corruption. That I shall obey the civil laws. That I shall not divulge professional confidences. And that I shall be faithful to those who have placed their trust in me. While I continue to keep this oath unviolated, may it be granted to me to enjoy honor in my life and in my profession. And may I be respected by all people for all time. Thank you. You may be seated.
At this time, to present the class, I invite Acting Dean Michael Goetz.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. I too have a few brief thoughts to express before I present the class today, I want to recognize some very special people. My old mentor used to say, if you hate your job, work to find another. If you love your job, you will never work again. Honestly, I haven't worked it years since I came to PIMS. The leadership and administration team and the faculty are second to none. If you only knew the degree of dedication this group of people have to the board, to the institution, and most importantly, to the students, you would be amazed. Long weekends and late nights are the norm, but we love every minute of it. If I could please ask the members of the faculty and the administrative team to please stand. Please remain standing. On behalf of Chairman Mr. James Pinkerton and members of the Board of Directors, President Ogrodnik, Program Director Dr. Barry Lease, I would like to thank you for your hard work, loyalty, and dedication to the education and day-to-day function of the Institute. Without you, we are nothing. With you, we are PIMS. You may be seated. Let's talk. Let's talk was a phrase with which I started many classes. It was a way to get the students' attention and a great way to let them know the class has begun. Hopefully, it also started a dialogue to assist in the understanding of the topics discussed that day. I'm no longer going to say that phrase to you for two reasons. One, I'm not your teacher anymore. I'm now more like a colleague. While the openness to talking will never go away, and I hope you all feel free to contact any member of the faculty or staff in the future, our talking days are limited. My new phrase to you is this: let's do. You have been highly trained and exposed to so much of this industry we call funeral service. It's time to put it to work. We didn't go through all this effort to talk about it. We went through all of this to do it. So going forward, when you think of your time at PIMS and the 5 Burnsisms you learned in RA, add a 6th one when you think about us. Let's do. It's now time to present to you, the students of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. I'd like to invite our registrar, Mrs. Karen Rocco, to the dais to assist Dr. Leese in the awarding of diplomas. Now we practiced this, so we're going to do this right? The following students are awarded a diploma in embalming and funeral directing. Frank Andrew Barta. Catherine Bassett. Cum laude graduate, Jessica Cespedes. Vice President of the Senate, Cameron Scott Holgrove. Chandler Fresquez. Former member of the U.S. Air Force, Nancy Michelle Bean. Summa cum laude graduate, Connor Christopher Gibson. Zoe Hall. Carrie Elizabeth James. Olivia Ludit. McKaylee Elise May. Former member of the U.S. United States Marine Corps, Rocco Anthony Naples. Savannah Olivia Saunders. Joshua Aaron Selesky. Heather Loretta Shields. Elisa Soto. Kayla Michelle Strunk. Cum laude graduate, Corinne Lee Young. This next set of graduates earned an associate in specialized technology degree in funeral service, arts, and sciences. If you'll please step forward. Cum laude graduate, Linda Baker. Magna cum laude graduate, Audrey M. Bober Pastor. Courtney Boyer. Wendy Hale Branner. David L. Burgess II. Cum laude graduate, Kara E. Farkas. Adam Shelby Ferguson. Caitlin Renee Fonseca. Brady John Fox. Summa cum laude graduate Rebecca Ann Galantine. Alyssa M. Gardina. Summa cum laude graduate Roxana Christine Galani. Kristen Grimmy Hayes. Stephen Christopher Kikessi. Summa cum laude graduate and President of the Senate, Izzy Plump. Lance Paul Kramer. Andrea Dawn LaFontaine. Student Senator Joey Lynn Luck. Luke Crocker Slater. Liam Scott Thompson. Brianna R. Waka. Cum laude graduate Stanley M. Walter. This next group of students have earned an associate
and specialized business degree in funeral service management.
Nicole M. Gowan. Student Senate Treasurer Yamani T. Jones. Kaylee Lavender. Nicole M. Martin. Christian W. Snyder. To all the students awarded a diploma or associate degree today, it is now time to switch your tassels from the left side to the right side. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of the 160th commencement of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. Now, as tradition, we have some awards to present. The first one is the Memorial Award. Be it known that this Memorial Award was established to commemorate the contributions made by the alumni, students, and faculty of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science in the service of their country. The recipient, who has been chosen by his or her classmates as the graduate who, through qualities of leadership, professional conduct, and good citizenship, best typified their ideals, is hereby awarded the 17th day of January, 2020, to Izzy Klump. The next award is the Pierce Chemical Restorative Art Award. If I could have Michael Kuerk, representative of the Pierce Chemical Company, please step forward to assist us in presenting this award. Be it known that the Pierce Chemical Restorative Art Award was established in recognition of outstanding ability, attitude, commitment, and achievement in the areas of restorative art and cosmetology, who, in the opinion of the clinical faculty of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science, we merit this recognition to is hereby awarded the 17th day of January 2020 to Izzy Klump. The next award is the Dodge Award. I have Matt Black, representative of the Dodge Chemical Company. Please step forward to present this award. Be it known that the Dodge Award was established to recognize a student who has demonstrated both exceptional and theoretical expertise throughout the entire embalming curricula practicum. Is hereby awarded the 17th day of January 2020 to Connor Christopher Gibson. This award includes an embalming kit provided by Dodge Chemical Company. Thank you, Mr. Black. The next award is the CORE Award. T.J. Roser, the Funeral Director Coroner Liaison from CORE, the Center for Organ Recovery and Education. Please join us. Be it known that the CORE Award was established to recognize a student who is dedicated to all the families who have donated in the past and for all the future donors as we funeral directors will encounter. Is hereby awarded this 17th day of January 2020 to Izzy Klump. This award includes a check from CORE in the amount of $500. The next award is the Champion Award for Mortuary Science. If Mr. Paul Bowman, Vice President and General Manager of the Champion Company, will please step forward. Be it known that the Champion Award for Mortuary Science Excellence is a criteria-based award of merit. This award bears the namesake of a company that has focused not only on providing state-of-the-art chemicals and products, but as indicated in the credo for its ever-expanding encyclopedia, the Champion Company is dedicated to the furtherance of knowledge and education for the funeral service profession. This award is presented to the student who is recognized by the members of the PIMS Science faculty to have demonstrated the overall scholarship, aptitude, attitude, and practical skills specifically in the core science component of the curriculum of the Institute. Is hereby awarded the 17th day of January 2020 to Adam Shelby Ferguson. This award includes an engraved plaque and a credit with the Champion Company for $500. The William J. Musmano Memorial Award. Be it known that the William J. Musmano Memorial Award was established as an award of merit in recognition of outstanding ability, attitude, commitment, and achievement in the clinical embalming lab practicum, who in the opinion of the clinical faculty of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science, maintain the highest standards of decorum, professionalism, and proven skills in the clinical embalming area. Is hereby awarded the 17th day of January 2020 to Elisa Soto. This award includes an embalming kit provided by Mr. Wayne Irvine, a graduate of PIMS who won this award in the past, and a $500 check provided by the PIMS Board of Directors. This next award is provided by two different organizations, but it's the same criteria. The John Rebo Award and the Allegheny County Funeral Directors Association Award. If John Lester, President of the ACFDA, and Ashley Urakis, Executive Director of the ACFDA, will please step forward. Be it known that the John Riebel Award was established as an award of merit in recognition of outstanding scholastic achievement in all branches of the curriculum at the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. The Allegheny County Funeral Directors Association also offers an honor for this same achievement. Before I announce the recipient of this award, I must explain to you that this year we were presented with a very unique situation. As it turns out, more than one student met the parameters of the award. When the administration was made aware of this anomaly, we immediately contacted Mr. James Pinkerton, the PIMS board chair, and the Allegheny County Funeral Directors Association Board of Directors for their advice on how to present this accolade. It was determined that by all involved that since these students met the criteria for the award, they would share in the recognition. It is hereby awarded the 17th day of January 2020 to the following 3 students: Rebecca Ann Galantine, Roxana Christine Galani, and Isabel Klump. To be clear, this award was not divided among the recipients. It was actually increased in value so each would reap the full benefit of their outstanding accomplishment. They would each receive a check for $100 from the Allegheny County Funeral Directors Association and a check from $500 from the PIMS Board of Directors. Next is the Eugene C. Ogrodnik Entrepreneurial Award. Be it known that the Eugene C. Ogrodnik Entrepreneurial Award is a criteria-based award of merit. This award is presented to the student who demonstrated the qualities of stewardship, scholarship, and leadership. These qualities are indicated of the man who bears the namesake of this award. Through his passions for education, visionary prowess, and keen business acumen, he established the legacy of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science while shaping the future of the funeral service profession. In honor of his namesake, this award is presented to the student who, as recognized by the core business faculty of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science, is deemed to have the entrepreneurial spirit and greatest potential to impact the funeral industry at large. It is hereby awarded the 17th day of January 2020 to Rebecca Ann Galantine. This award includes a check for $500 from the PIMS Board of Directors and is matched by Eugene Ogrodnik and his wife Karen in the amount of $500 for a total of $1,000. Becky is buying lunch. The final award is the Mu Sigma Award, and this one we're going to do a little bit in reverse order. I'm going to ask the winners to please come up first, and then we'll talk about the award. So please step forward. Isabel Klump, Stephen Christopher Kekhessen, Roxanne Christina Galani, and Stanley M. Walter. The National Association of Colleges of Mortuary Science have established an honorary society to give recognition to those students of mortuary science who have displayed outstanding merit in scholarship and who have conducted themselves as good citizens of the school they have attended. The recipients of this award have been carefully screened by the faculty and constitute 10% of the graduating class. The name of the society is Mu Sigma Alpha, which stands for Mortuary Science Award. They were each given a small pin. As you examine the key, You will see the symbols which are engraved thereon, being an open book placed over a spray of laurel, a lighted lamp, and the word award. The book is the symbol of knowledge and wisdom of the ages. It has a further allusion to the Bible and its teaching of disciplines and ways of life. The book is open to indicate that knowledge is available to all mankind. The spray of laurel designates a symbol of achievement. The lamp of learning is a symbol of scholarship, diligence, and perseverance, irrespective of time. The word award is added for all to know the purpose of the award, to honor those who qualify and are chosen. Cherish this award, for it is our way of recognizing that you have done what you have done while you were here with us. It is our confidence that you will go on to your chosen profession. You will not only be graduates of whom we are proud, but also ones who will carry in the years to come the high standards which you have so outstandingly demonstrated while completing your education. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Congratulations to all of those who were recognized, but again, to all the graduates, congratulations, and once again, thank you for letting us be a part of your funeral service education. At this time, I'm going to ask Student Senate President Izzy Klump, who we've met a few times, and we'll be buying lunch later, along with Becky, for some closing remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here to celebrate the 160th commencement ceremony of the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science. Family, friends, everyone who has traveled to be here today, thank you to everyone who has been on the receiving end of our stress over this past year, and to everyone who has played a role in helping us make it to today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And a huge thank you to Dr. Joe. You are what we will all remember from PIMS, and our class is so fortunate to have you here today to celebrate our commencement. I want to start off first and foremost by saying congratulations to my classmates. We have worked so hard to get here. But I may still speak for a lot of us when I say that today is actually a very bittersweet day. For the past year, we have spent every single day together. And although an entire year with the same 30 people definitely comes with a few complications of its own, I can say that I've honestly developed some of the most meaningful friendships with my classmates here at PIMS. I would not have been able to make it through this program without the support system that we've created for one another in the classroom. PIMS is not easy. We survived 20 credit hours each semester. We survived 8 classes at a time, and yes, that does mean 8 finals that we are all still very much recovering from. We survived all of the stress from school, compiled into weeks of multiple exams, all with dealing with our personal lives. We survived walking up all 4 flights of stairs every day. We survived the morning commute, and I should mention that there are students like Frank Chandler. They drove upwards of 2 hours every single morning to make it to class by 8 a.m. We survived Mr. Burns' dad jokes and all of the memes on his desktop. We survived all of our caffeine-induced anxiety, every presentation, every project, every long day of embalming after school. We survived that last hour of cremation every Tuesday. Sorry, Mr. Patalfi, but 3 hours of cremation is a lot for a Tuesday morning. We survived every logistical disagreement with our professors. Sorry, that was mostly me. We survived every logistical disagreement with each other. We survived every night of cramming, and let's be honest, the night before is the earliest most of us would start to prepare for a lot of our exams. And we survived Mr. McGowan interrupting every single student's presentation in funeral management. But we survived it all. And although we have survived this program as of today, we have all chosen to go into the field of death. We surround ourselves every single day with the thing that makes most people very uncomfortable. But that's why PIMS is so special. I'm sure a lot of us get the same reaction when we tell people what we study. It's either ew, disgusting, or we get, oh wow, it takes a really special person to be able to do what you do. And they're right. It takes a very special person to be able to work in death care. This field is incredibly difficult physically because some of us aren't able to take care of our bodies in life, but funeral directors still will even after you die. Socially, because people don't die on a schedule, and emotionally, because death will eventually affect all of us. But in my time at PIMS, I've learned that this industry is made up of incredibly strong individuals, and I know that the class of 160 certainly is too. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit because nobody likes a fully sappy speech. I want to read something written by our very own Connor Gibson. You should wave. There you go. So with Connor's permission, I thought what a better day to share this, the day we're all graduating and our professors can't change our grades anymore. And I quote, "The Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science is itself not unlike a funeral. The whole cast of characters is there. The wacky uncle with a snazzy sense of dress is played by Mr. Burns. The part of the family that stands by the trunk of the car, lightheartedly telling jokes and taking slugs from an unidentifiable liquid, is played by Dr. Leese and Mr. and Mrs. Entman. That one guy who's not quite related to anyone, but who is still really into what's going on, is played by Mr. Drobish. The 20-something nephew who elicits eye rolls whenever he talks about what he's been up to because he still has his whole life ahead of him, is played by Mr. Ritchie. The distant cousin, once removed, who insists on being parked exactly fourth in the procession and won't let you put a flag on his car because he doesn't want it to scratch his paint job, is played by Mr. McGowan. The guy who brought the unidentifiable liquid that's being consumed in the parking lot and who only showed up in time just for the luncheon is also played by Mr. McGowan. The guy that keeps apologizing, saying he's trying to get everyone out of here but keeps starting conversations anyways, is played by Mr. Alachko. The man grumbling about a lack of parking spots is of course played by Dr. Joe. And last but not least, there's us, the pallbearers. Glassy-eyed in ill-fitting suits, jostling into position, staring blankly through the funeral director as they shout instructions that we'll probably forget anyways, because we're too busy thinking about what our weekends look like. But all jokes aside, the faculty at PIMS is honestly what made this program. To Mr. Burns, you are a role model, a confidant, and a friend to every single student at this program. And I mean it when I say that PIMS would be nothing without you. To Dr. Leese, you are truly the most intelligent person I have ever met, and I hope that I can be even half as articulate as you are one day. To Mr. Drobish, we all really look forward to involving with you because you really are great at what you do. And you always have the most interesting stories and photos for us students who are more interested in the pathological side of the field. To Mr. Entman, I have to give credit where it's deserved. You really do teach the hardest classes. But every trimester, you make yourself available to the students that want to learn. So what if it takes you over a year to post any of your grades? To Mr. Ritchie, you're a newer addition to PIMS, and although I genuinely thought you were a student the first time I met you, the school is so lucky to have you on full-time. And you really do know a great professor when you have one. To Dr. Joe, although you still don't know most of our names, and I'm almost certain you don't know mine, we were so lucky to be the last class to have you. I hope that you're enjoying your retirement. To Mr. Alachko, you've seen most of us at our most vulnerable times here at PIMS. I know there was more than one occasion that I was in your office stressing out about my grades. And none of us would have gotten through comps without you, so thank you on behalf of all of us. To Mrs. Entman, though I never had you as a teacher, your guidance got me through my stage fright so that I could be up here delivering this speech today. And to Mr. McGowan, I want to thank you for not interrupting this speech today. And while I could continue to roast Mr. McGowan all day, we don't all have time for that, so. I do want to extend a sincere thank you to every faculty member at PIMS. It really is such an amazing program with an even more wonderful staff to show for it. I promise I'm almost done. I just have a final few words to leave you with. Once again, thank you to everyone who has dealt with our struggles over this past year. Your support is immeasurable to us. Thank you to Connor for letting me share some of your humor. Thank you to my mom and dad, and to all the parents and all the family here today, and for all the opportunities that you've provided us with. And a thank you to any of our loved ones who aren't able to make it here today, like my sister Jordan, who is also the reason I chose to come to Mortuary School. But the biggest thank you I owe is to my classmates. Thank you for the laughs, the conversation, the competition. But most importantly, thank you for the friendships. This year would not have been survivable without all of you, and I'm so fortunate to have gotten to know all of you so well. I encourage you all to take care of yourselves going forward, because although this definitely was a hard year, it will not be our hardest. But I have full confidence that we are all going to make an impact in the lives of many of the families we have the pleasure to serve in our futures. I truly look forward to seeing you all succeed in your future careers, and congratulations to the PIMS class of 160. Thank you.
Thank you, Izzy, for those closing remarks. You know, there's been a few themes today. One of them change. The other, we talked a little bit about family and PIMS cares. And I would be remiss, and again, I do thank you, Izzy, for kind of celebrating that campus experience. But I would be remiss if I did not recognize the rest of our family, those who came to us through the virtual campus and visited us at Restorative Art Residency and gather here today. And I want to offer this quote: "You never change your life until you step out of your comfort zone. Change begins at the end of your comfort zone." So with that in mind, and because it's our 80th birthday and change is the word, I wanted to invite Steve Kekekson and Stan Walter from our distance learning program and Mu Sigma Award recipients to the microphone for just a moment to perhaps share a few reflective thoughts about your 2-year experience away from the campus. Steve, Stan, you can fight it out, whoever wants to say, but I would like you to say, somebody to say something, okay?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Wow, I'm speechless that I was given this. I would like to thank my wife Melanie for taking care of me the last 3 years. I know this program was only 2 years, but it involved me taking a year full of classes beforehand. It was definitely out of my comfort zone to go back to school, as I didn't do well with school the first time around, and never thought that I would get involved with a career such as this. But I feel like I've fallen into a place where I feel that God has certainly placed me. And as I look down on everyone here, I am so grateful to God for the friendships that I have gained on this journey. Yeah, so thank you.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
This is quite a surprise. I guess first of all, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, this would not have been possible. The thought of going back to school at the age of 56 scared me to death. But I felt called. And I believe that every one of you out here, if you really think about it, this is a calling. This is not a job, it's a ministry that hopefully we get paid for. And but I would like to, someone was talking about a resource they had. I'm so thankful for the class that I was in, 1044. We've got lifelong friends. We have helped each other through the battles, through the times. We've cried with each other, we've laughed with each other and at each other. But studying for comps, we came together as a group and worked with each other and helped each other get through this. And that was just an amazing thing, the friendships that we have gained. And someone was talking about a resource they had that helped them a lot. And I can't remember what the book was, but I said, I've got a Deb. And Deb is my wife, who cheered me on the whole time, that talked me off the ledge many times when I felt like I couldn't do this. But I'm so thankful for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward. I made a joke. I told people I was trying to avoid having my graduation party and my retirement party in the same month. But, I'll be 60 years old by the time I finish my apprenticeship. But I'm looking forward to a rich and full time doing this. And I've never in my life done anything so rewarding. You know, in the last class, and I'll just about finish. In the last class, the seminar class, my last paper was the journey. And, you know, I think back at all the long nights of studying, the stressing and everything, and you wonder, is it really worth it, worth everything? But to have a mother come up and hug your neck and sob and thank you for what you did for them and their child, it's worth every minute. And I thank the Lord that I have this opportunity to do this.
Thank you again. At this time, it's a tradition that we sing America the Beautiful. So I would like to invite up our singers, Rocco Maples and Brianna Waka, to lead us in song.
Oh, beautiful
That may be the best rendition of that song I've ever heard at a PIMS graduation. So thank you, Rocco and Brianna. And this concludes our commencement exercises. Thank you again for attending.